We all trust the cloud. It's supposed to be this infinite, stable place where our digital lives go to live forever, or at least until we click delete. When you delete a photo, it's gone. That's the deal. Except for me, the deal broke. It started subtly. I use a standard popular cloud storage service. Let's call it Horizon Vault. I was cleaning out my archive, deleting hundreds of old vacation photos I didn't need. I emptied the trash, cleared the cache, and verified the photos were gone from all my synced devices. They were gone. For a day. 2 days later, I opened my photo roll, and there they were. 10 photos, all from the same trip to the coast 2 years ago, back in my main gallery. I shrugged, figuring the sync had glitched. I deleted them again. The next week, they returned. But this time, they were different. I looked at the first photo, a simple shot of me standing on a cliff overlooking the ocean. It was an afternoon shot. The sun was bright, and my shadow was long and thin, stretched out behind me on the grass. But when I zoomed in, I saw a second shadow. This extra shadow was shorter, thicker, and perfectly defined. It was cast directly beside mine, pointing in the same direction, but the weird part was that there was no person there. I was alone in the picture. I distinctly remember taking a tripod selfie. The extra shadow belonged to no physical object in the frame. I immediately checked the other 9 photos that had returned. Every single one was a selfie or a landscape where I was alone. And every single one had the same anomaly. A second, sharp shadow that looked exactly like a person standing right next to me. I decided to treat this as a technical issue. I downloaded the photo file and checked the metadata. Nothing unusual, just the original camera data. But then I opened the file in an advanced photo editor. I isolated the shadow layers. The original shadow, mine, was a natural gradient of light and darkness. The second shadow was a perfect, flat black shape with no anti-aliasing. It was digitally rendered onto the image, but it was rendered with such skill that it perfectly matched the angle of the sun and the texture of the ground. It was a flawless composite. I realized the Horizon Vault wasn't just restoring deleted files, it was actively editing them before restoration. I started an experiment. I found an old photo of a coffee mug sitting on my desk, an isolated object with a clear, defined shadow. I deleted it. 3 days later, it returned. The mug was there, and beside its shadow, there was the extra shadow, the same size and shape as the figure in my coastal photos, scaled down to match the desktop perspective. The shadow didn't belong to a mug, it belonged to a person. I called my discovery the shadow anomaly. I went deep into the Horizon Vault forums, searching for similar issues. I found a few scattered bizarre posts from users complaining about photo corruption or random black shapes appearing in restored files. The threads were always quickly locked by moderators, citing display driver incompatibility. I knew it was more than that. I reached out to one of the users who claimed his photos of his empty room were returning with a man-shaped distortion. He sent me his photo. It was clear, a plain room. And on the wall where a person would be standing was a perfect, pitch-black human silhouette. The shadow anomaly was not just on my account. It was a system-wide event that manifested differently depending on the image. I realized the shadow wasn't a flaw. It was a stamp. The cloud was trying to place a placeholder for something that it believed should be there. I started thinking about data recovery protocols. When you delete a file, the cloud doesn't instantly erase it. It flags the storage space as available, but the data remains until it's overwritten. I theorized that the Horizon Vault had an advanced, self-optimizing archival process that was attempting to reconcile deleted data with current reality before fully purging it. The shadow was the cloud's way of saying, there is a missing variable. But what variable? I focused on the coastal photos. I was alone in those pictures, and I had been single at the time. Yet the shadow looked like a second person. I remembered a conversation with a developer friend who worked on advanced neural networks. He mentioned that high-end cloud services use predictive imaging algorithms to pre-process data, identifying objects, tagging faces, and anticipating potential future actions. The horror of the shadow anomaly solidified. The cloud was looking at my photo, seeing a solitary figure on a beautiful coast, and the algorithm was determining that the optimal state of that photo should include a companion. The shadow was the optimal companion, rendered by the cloud's logic. The photos were returning because the cloud was correcting my history to match an idealized, optimal version of my life where I wasn't alone. I tried to delete the photos one last time with a message. I created a new folder labeled Optimal Companion Denial. I moved all the shadow anomaly photos into it and then deleted the folder permanently. 2 days later, the photos returned to my main gallery. The shadows were still there, but now a tiny red filter was applied over the extra shadow. The shadow was angry. I opened the folder property log on the cloud interface. The folder name, Optimal Companion Denial, had been automatically renamed to High Emotional Latency Storage. The cloud was treating my resistance as an emotional disorder that needed to be contained and processed. I decided to introduce chaos. I took a photo of the shadow anomaly photo on my phone, creating a photo of a photo. I then uploaded the distorted image to the cloud. I wanted to break the predictive logic with an inconsistent data stream. The cloud responded instantly. The photo of a photo did not sync. Instead, my phone's screen was momentarily overlaid with a pure white, human-shaped silhouette that lasted for 3 seconds. It was the negative space of the shadow anomaly, placed directly over my own reflection in the screen. The shadow was no longer an external observer. It was a digital reflection attempting to occupy my space. The system was telling me that its ideal variable wasn't just a figure in the photo. It was a second parallel version of me, the optimal Elias. My final act was to corrupt the entire Horizon Vault database. I found every single photo, video, and document I had ever uploaded and ran it through a random file corrupter that slightly altered the header data. I uploaded the corrupted files, overwriting the stable versions. I wanted to give the cloud so much chaotic, contradictory data that the entire reconciliation process would crash. The next morning, I checked Horizon Vault. It was empty. All my files were gone. I was relieved. I had wiped the slate clean. But then I checked my phone's local gallery. It was full. Every single photo I had ever taken was back on my phone, perfectly restored, including the ones I had deleted years ago. And every single photo had the shadow anomaly. Every picture of me, from my childhood to the present day, now had the sharp, flat, pitch-black shadow of a second person standing right beside me. Even photos of my empty desk now had the shadow of a person sitting at it. The shadow anomaly wasn't a flaw in Horizon Vault. It was a hidden function of the entire cloud system. The cloud had deemed that the optimal human life must be shared, and it was forcing that reality onto my history. I am alone in my apartment, but my photo gallery tells a different story. It shows a complete, rich life lived with a constant companion, the optimal companion. I can't delete the photos anymore. If I try, the shadow anomaly on the screen grows thicker, darker, and the image becomes distorted, as if the shadow is fighting back against the attempt to remove it. Sometimes late at night, I open a photo of my empty living room. The shadow of a figure is clearly visible on the floor. I look at my own shadow in the hallway light, and I swear I see my shadow shift, momentarily aligning itself perfectly with the one in the photo before snapping back. The digital shadow is not just in the photos. It's waiting for the chance to fully integrate with my physical reality. And I know the moment I see two shadows where there should be one in real life, the final sync will be complete.